Hello. You were probably expecting Alexander. Sadly, Alexander cannot join us today, but we're having the same presentation, so nothing will be missed. So let's talk about turning Joomla maintenance into a money-making machine. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Mateus Podraza. I come from Poland, from Krakow. Precise. I'm a tinkerer, which means I like to dabble in things, I like to piece things together, use different technology, and I'm passionate about IT. I started doing freelance work when I was 13, but then decided to go full-time working at Perfect Dashboard, which the more perceptive of you might have noticed. Just a quick word about Perfect Dashboard. It's essential maintenance and update platform that you can manage all of your websites. According to our data, it gives you about 5 times performance boost, but you know, according to our data. The data comes from about 2,700 web admins from all over the world, and they are using it on the thousands of Joomla websites with hundreds of different extensions. So, you might ask me, why website management in the first place? Why keep the site updated and take care of it? It's a lot of hassle, is it? Well, because it's good money. You basically contract it once, and then you charge the customer every month. It's a known, stable source of income. You know that in a given month, you'll earn, let's say, 500 euro from maintenance, or 1,000 euro, or whatever. Whereas with contracts, you know, you might get a contract, you might not. Doing freelance is difficult because of that, because of the uncertainty in income. And the last great bit about doing maintenance is you don't have to agree on every single change with your customer. You can just, you know, agree on the fact that you'll keep the website running, and every work that's required to do so will be paid for. Also, it scales better. If you want to create twice as more websites, you need usually twice as much time, because you know you have to set up Joomla, you have to install components, the custom work needed, and all of that. Whereas if you have a certain workflow for maintaining a website, then just hooking another website to it is 5–10 minutes maybe. The more websites you manage, the more time you save on each of them. And it is good for the community. Let's face it, websites that are not updated get hacked. Take Joomla 3.4.5 for example. Anything younger than that, that's not the highest patch release, has the critical vulnerability of remote code execution. And the websites get hacked, then the whole Joomla project gets blamed for being insecure. Like working as an agency before, we've seen that people say, we don't want Joomla, we don't want WordPress. They are vulnerable. They get hacked. And they get hacked because they are not updated. They're not maintained actively. And then the reputation of the whole Joomla project suffers. So, how to find clients? It's quite simple, really. You have three main custom sources and an additional one. You can contract your existing web development customers, which is probably the easiest way of doing things. You can contact your former clients, who you've done some work for but are not currently in touch with. You can try approaching people who got hacked in the past to make sure that it doesn't happen again. They are very willing to sign a maintenance contract if that keeps them from being hacked again. And if you are in Perfect Dashboard, sometimes we get requests for doing custom work, and we don't really do that, so we just refer them to one of our customers, or a couple of our customers who we know are professionals. And you might ask me, how should I persuade a potential customer? Why would you even buy a package that allows you, that makes sure your website is maintained? Well, because every website is a responsibility. If I were to own a shop, and the floor on the shop was slippery, and someone would enter the shop, slip, and break their leg, I would get sued. Whereas, if I enter your website, and your website was hacked, it's now distributing malware, and my computer gets infected, well, I should be able to sue as well. The website is a living thing. It's not make it once and then leave it to be. Software changes, software needs to be updated. Otherwise, you're not only damaging your own brand, you're also putting your potential visitors at risk. And also, you wouldn't drive a car for 200,000 miles and don't check its condition. A car, like a website, needs to be maintained. And how do you best rate an existing customer? Well, you can tell them that because web technologies are changing quickly, there's new versions of PHP, new versions of Joomla, new versions of components, of plugins, of modules, anything that basically runs the site, it needs to be refreshed, updated to protect the site brand reputation. And the best way to keep your website safe is to always have the software updated, which you can pay someone to do. So let's say you manage to sign on a customer. Great. But now there's a lot of work to be done before you can start earning easy money. You have to see what condition the site is in. You never know, maybe the previous developer hacked the Joomla core, and now updating anything will break the site completely. Maybe there's some weird workarounds that you need to figure out, how to deal with them. Then, once you've done that, you've noted down all the places that are changed, you can finally either update or upgrade to the newest Joomla and component versions, and then try doing the things that got hacked into core the proper way. So you don't have to do it again. Let's talk about SLA for a bit. Some people consider SLA to be just the website's availability. Like, I give you 99.99% SLA. But what SLA really means is the scope of management, or the service level agreement. It basically defines what you and your customer agree on. Technically, an SLA could be you agree on doing nothing, which wouldn't be the easiest money ever made, but usually you include something in the SLA. What's great about SLA is there's no predefined catalog of things you have to include. It's up to you and your customer to decide if they want just backups, or maybe backups and updates, or maybe backups, updates, and I don't know, adding a pink unicorn every month. However, there are some market standards. For example, usually we've seen that the standard SLA includes backups, updates, and monitoring, which basically means that your client will get notified when the site is down, and that you'll notify the hosting agency or the server owner where the site resides and do something about it. Some people add more stuff to make the service more interesting, more convincing to the customer. For example, there are upgrades. The difference between an update and an upgrade, I'll talk about that in a sec. Some people add hosting, which means the customer doesn't have to deal with the hosting company, with the maintainer, and I don't know, people who make custom changes on the site. It's just all under one hood, and that also means you get all the income. Right, updates versus upgrades. Basically, we consider an update to be just a patch version. So if you use semantic versioning, and let's say you have Joomla 3.6.1, 1 is the patch version. So an update would be upgrading to the latest patch version, which in that case would be Joomla 3.6.2, and soon 3. Whereas an upgrade would consider the minor, which is the second, or the major version. So for example, upgrading from Joomla 3.4 to Joomla 3.5, or from Joomla 2.5 to Joomla 3. It's worth noting that while usually updates don't cause many issues, upgrades can. Because APIs change, things break, things become deprecated, deleted, removed. So it's worth noting that if you offer updates, you should charge a bit less for them than if you order updates and upgrades. And also monitoring versus hosting. If you just monitor a website, you can set up an automatic script that will check if the site is online every 30 seconds or so. And if it isn't, you can just send the customer and the hosting company an automated email message saying, hey, the site's down, do something about it. And to the customer, hey, your site is down, but we're working on it. Be calm. Whereas when you host the site, well, you have to resolve that problem yourself. But then again, as I said, more money to you. Yeah, I think, okay, so how easy it is to go from one customer to, let's say, 50 customers with those services. Backups, monitoring, and updates are simple. You can automate all of this, so they scale great. Hosting scales great as well. If you have a big enough server, just put another user on it and problems are solved. However, upgrades, because they break stuff, content management and making custom changes don't scale well, so you would have to consider if it's worth it to offer, let's say, custom changes for 50 clients, because you just might not have the time. Yeah, and let's talk about the interesting bit, which is the money. So how much would you really charge for maintenance? Well, we've discovered that with large projects, usually between 20–25% of the initial development cost. With smaller projects, because the initial development cost is smaller, of course, 30–30% of the costs. But it's really important that you don't go below a certain minimum. Don't allow yourself to charge 5 shekel for a month's worth of maintenance, because it's just not worth it to invoice that amount of money, and besides, you're spoiling the market. Before we go any further, I have an odd request. I would like everyone to stand up for just a few seconds, or half a minute, and we'll do a small experiment with the room. Would you please all stand up, please? Great, thank you. And now, everyone that thinks that a monthly maintenance package should cost less than 50 euro, please sit down.
Less than 50 euro?
Yeah, less than 50 euro. Okay. Anyone who thinks it should cost between 50 and 100 euro a month, please sit down. Okay, between 100 and 150, please sit down.
A month?
A month, yeah. Euro. Okay, so I see there's just a few people left. So, you sir.
No, I'm sitting.
Oh, you're sitting, okay. So, Cyril, how much should it cost?
It should be, my company should be between 30 and 40%
Of
the initial cost.
So you would say that usually be around
Per month?
a month.
Per year.
No, per year.
Per year, yes, per year.
Normally, for my in software development, in big company like Microsoft and other, it's 15%.
15 to 20%.
15.
All right.
Between 10 and 20, but in big projects like ERP and stuff like that.
But we didn't even get to 200 euro. Let's proceed and see what that will bring us. But first, the business model. I mentioned you have to do some initial preparation. So you have basically two options. Either you charge a flat initial fee, or you include that work you have to do in the cost of a monthly package. Then the scalable services you can charge monthly, yearly, but do so on a recurring subscription. You can use Stripe or any other major credit card processor company. You can use PayPal, but that's a bit of a pain to do recurring subscriptions. And with the non-scalable services like custom work, upgrades, content management, basically you either agree on a set amount of work. Let's say you say to the client, it'll take me about 40 hours and my hourly price is that. Or you just say, okay, I'll do it for 500 shekel. It's good to write down this agreement, because otherwise, when a conflict arises between you and your customer, you might be in deep. It doesn't have to be, in lawyer speak, it doesn't have to be very formal. It's just important that you write down what you agree on. And also, it's good to include like basic contact information between you two. So let's say if you're out of office and everything is on fire and the customer is losing money, they can call you up and say, please, please, oh God, please help. And some basic general terms and conditions. There are various templates you can find online for that stuff that include all the boring lawyery info that you need to include. So let's calculate the price. Let's say if you're doing manually, you back it up 5 minutes. You verify that the backup works, because if you don't verify a backup, you don't have a backup. Let's say half an hour. Then you click a button, it does stuff, 5 minutes. Then you click through the site, check if it roughly works, an hour, and then you fix all the things that broke, inevitably. And let's say that will take you, adding that up, 2 hours, 40 minutes. And let's say for updates a month, because either PHP updates, or component updates, or the Joomla updates. And that comes out to a whopping €426 a month, which is too expensive. No one will pay that. Sorry? Well, it depends on the website, of course. It's an estimation. It's an estimation of checking if stuff works. If you have a simple blog, sure, that will take you 10 minutes. If you have an online shop, that might take you 2 hours. It's basically the middle ground of what we have checked through the dashboard while talking to our customers who run simple blogs, e-commerce sites, corporate websites. I mean, it varies. You have to adjust the time calculation to the products you're working on. It's just a general estimate. But what if you automate that stuff? Again, let's go through the steps. You have to know there's an update, you have to back up the site, to verify the backup works, install the update, test the site, and fix the bugs. So, you can set up a calendar reminder every 2-3 days to remind you to go to the site, see if it needs any updates. Backup, just buy a keeper. They have scheduled backups. Then you can use a bash script to unpack it, verify the file checksums, or just verify against the live site. Then installing, just click through it. And if you want to test the site automatically, that is painful. Codeception or Selenium are some solution you could use, but from my experience, it takes a lot of patience to make the tests reliable. Codeception has a problem with clicking things. And fixing the bugs, of course, you cannot automate that. But you could use other tools to have it. Of course, there's my company on that, but we're not the only one. Akiba Pro has some great tools to help you backup and schedule backups. There's my Joomla, there's Watchfully. SiteGround has some interesting backup and update automation tools included in the hosting panels. So there's a lot of different tools you can use. Of course, ours is just one of them. And if you use our tool or my Joomla or Watchfully, then all of the previous steps take about 5 minutes each, and then fixing the bugs, let's keep it an hour. So at that time scale, it would take an hour 12 minutes. With 4 updates a month, that's €192 a month. Still a lot, but less. Let's go back one slide actually. If you think that €192 a month is too much, of course with that estimation being true, then you can maybe offer a smaller package. Maybe don't do upgrades, maybe just do backup, no monitoring, stuff like that. And some resources. There's a group on Facebook. It's not just for clients of our product, anyone can join. Basically, there are some people who know their shit, And you can always ask a question, talk to other web admins, other people who may be facing similar issues as you are currently. There are some document templates in English that you can just download for free and use without any payment, anything. It's like basic contracts, service level agreements. Take in mind that they were constructed for the American market, and you might have to adjust them slightly to comply with, for example, Israeli law. But it's just a set of guidelines, set of resources you can use to ease bringing your customers into the website's maintenance program. And yeah, by updating, maintaining sites, and not leaving them just to be in the internet, we can make it a safer place. Thank you. And yeah, I can see a question already.
If I have a reseller and hosting account, and I would like to provide for my clients all the services you just mentioned, and of course I want to have all the sites upgraded and updated to the last version. Most of them don't want to pay a lot of money, and I don't want to even allow them to not upgrade. So what can I do?
Well, you could try convincing them that it's not that the site doesn't have to be upgraded. It has to be upgraded. It's out of the question. Otherwise, they are not endanagering themselves, their brand reputation, but the visitors and potentially your other clients. If they don't want to pay a lot of money, if you have a lot of customers, you can scale the business so that even if you charge them an additional fee of, let's say, €30 a year, it can still be profitable. Because, for example, if you have access to your whole reseller's account, you can just back up all the sites at once, verify all the backups at once, and you don't have to do any real work at all. You can even set a cron job to do it for you. So, from your standpoint, it's maybe an hour a week more worth of work, whereas you can charge them a small fee, and they're happy, you're happy.
Because I have conflicts with myself all the time if I want to provide a smaller package or a cheaper package or whatever. And I just think to myself that because this client don't want to pay a lot of money, all the other clients get valuable, and I just don't want to even make this happen, you understand? So I really
Send him away.
I think the best
Send him to
idea.
another server.
I think the best idea in your case is to say that your hosting package includes updates, period. If you come to us, you get updates. It's not opt-out. It's included in the package. For some, that will be a bonus. If the person is so stubborn, they don't want their sites updated ever, then I don't think that should be a client of yours. Come on, I mean, if someone insists on keeping the Joomla on 2.1 because it works, right, and there's no need to update, then at a certain point in the discussion, there's nothing more to say that will convince them. And I think sometimes it's better to lose a shitty client than to go through hell to just keep the client with you. Thank you for the question. Cyril.
You presented two ways of two business models for the maintenance: the flat fee and the percentage from the initial cost. From your experience, is it easier to sell the flat fee or the percentage?
If you're the person who made the website, I think it's easier to sell the percentage. I mean, you can't really sell the percentage if it's not your existing client. But if the site is really big and really expensive, the client might be kind of sneezy with going for, let's say they spend 10,000 shekel on the site, and what they will pay now 3,000 shekel a month. That doesn't really make sense. It sadly depends on the client. We had clients as a hosting agency back in the day that would be happy paying €300 a month to keep the site safe and up to date and basically in a good shape. And there were clients that were complaining about €50.
Okay, but maybe the main question is the business model of how you sell the website. I mean, maybe the recurring cost is more interesting for the web agency than the initial cost. Maybe we can lower the price of the cost we sell, the price of the website we sell at the first stage. But what we are aiming at is to get money from the maintenance reviewers.
I mean, those two models they presented were suggestions. From my personal experience, I think the flat price sells better. With my clients, it did. And also, if you can keep the client happy, then yes, you can lower the initial price, the entry point to getting a site, because that's usually the problem with clients. They have a budget of €2,000 and they want a great site, and then you tell them, sorry, I mean, for 2K I can't do much. But maybe if you sign on them for a contract for, let's say, 2 years of maintenance at X euros a month, then you can do 2-3K for the initial site, because you know it will get back to you in future. It's basically the same idea as buying something on the credit. It's easier to buy a phone with, for example, your carrier, if you pay, let's say, $100 now and then a bit gets added to your bill, then you have to pay, I don't know, $700 for a new phone straight away.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for two things. Sponsor